processing are often cited as priorities for African governments. Using examples, describe how your company is working towards building a sustainable agro-industry that is promoting economic growth and job creation.
Cassava is a very interesting one for us. As many of you know here, Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. But a lot of that cassava gets produced on the subsistence level by smallholder farmers. We have the largest cassava processing facility in the country for high quality cassava flour, and we're rapidly scaling up in Gari as a consumer product. But our challenge is, despite Nigeria producing, some would say, between 50 and 55 million tons of cassava, getting 300 or 350,000 tons of cassava for us is a challenge. And why is that a challenge? One, because the way cassava is produced in the country, it's not to scale. The other is the nature of the product itself. How do we solve this problem? Well, we decided to go into the business of large-scale cassava cultivation, which, I must be honest with you, we're still trying to figure out. We're planning on planting 1,800 hectares of cassava in a place called Shao. We have 5,000 hectares of land there. We've only ever managed to do 1,000 hectares of cassava. So this year is really a stretch. We've done 300 hectares as of last Friday. So let's see how the rains treat us in the next few weeks. But also, and this is where trying to bring in others into the conversation as well, PIN and other partners. We've realized that we need to go into a lot more structured contract farming relationships with cassava, because the farmer doesn't believe in the long-term relationship that they have with you as a processor when it comes to a product like cassava. Then they just sell to whoever they can find, whenever they can find them. So if you have a Gari processor right next door that's able to offer them 2,000 naira more in the price, they would sell to that person. And that creates a lot of distortions in the cassava supply chain market, which for us who ultimately rely on cassava as our principal raw material creates a big challenge. So we're increasingly going into structured contract farming relationships, not only on the smallholder scale, but we're encouraging people to farm 5 hectares, 10 hectares, 20 or so hectares of cassava with guaranteed offtake arrangements. That is ultimately what's going to make it possible for us to go into something like industrial starch. Otherwise, lastly, just to give a sense of how that value chain works in terms of pricing. So the derivatives of cassava that we can get today are varied and are many. Top of that chain is ethanol. I don't know what ethanol prices are doing today, but let's say for the sake of argument, they're about 450,000 a ton. Then closely following that is maybe Gari or starch, depending on the international price of starch. Anywhere between 300 to 380,000 naira per ton, which all may disagree, but yeah. And then the lowest of that is high quality cassava flour, which interestingly we sell to flour millers such as ourselves, biscuit manufacturers, and pharmaceuticals, and lots of other people to blend into their products. They are only willing to pay 180,000 naira at best.
Thank you. And where is your plant located? The cassava plant?
In Ososa, in Egypt.
So my next question is for Mr. Rasheed Sarumi. What are some of the constraints hindering the development of globally competitive agro-industries in Africa?
I will use cocoa. Nigeria produces anything between 240 to 290,000 tons of cocoa. And at the time, Nigeria had installed capacity to process 100% of that output. I read, I think last week, that we only process like 30,000 tons today, and most of the companies in that in cocoa processing, they're actually in debt to either AMCON and several banks. So Saro is one of those companies, and you look at what are the challenges to be competitive out of Nigeria. In agricultural processing, you need energy, and in energy we are not competitive. Two, in most of the agro commodities that we do not utilize in Nigeria, there is what we now call group thinking. The economics is not, I do not regard this as conspiracy. I just think that's how an industry is shaped. So products out of Nigeria are not accepted. So when I sell the cocoa butter, liquor, powder, somebody is telling me I'm going to remelt it, right? And what's it going to do? It's going to take it through its factory in Hamburg, relabel it as product from the EU, and it's going to be able to get a premium. So pricing wise, I'm holding the short end of the stick. This is how the industry thinking. The group thinking, right? We call it race to the bottom in cocoa. And so these are some of the things that has not made us competitive. But things are changing.
Agriculture is the economic backbone of most African countries and has the potential to fuel greater economic growth. From your perspective, what is the state of Africa's modern agriculture and agro-industrialization?
The state of agro-industry in Africa is almost aimed at two states. And if you take agriculture, just upstream, productivity and yield are very low. Compare Africa, for instance, to Asia, not to mention Europe. And it's very low, the yield and productivity in agriculture. If you take industry, the processing and downstream, and we are just very competitive. In fact, one would say that we've gone through the phase of deindustrializations. If you compare African manufacturing value added as a share of GDP compared to other regions of the world, we're also very low on that. So that is the big picture. But within that big picture, we may have some variations, whereby essentially there are a few countries making progress along that value chains, agricultural value chains. And while globally the African export mixed remain heavily dominated by primary commodity, more than 75% of African exports, we've seen some improvement with an increasing component of agribusiness in the African export product mix, in the African output mix. And number one leading country in that space is South Africa. In fact, when you look at that space, South Africa is by far the leading country and known as the top 10 few countries which have self-sufficiency in terms of agriculture and consumptions. And so besides South Africa, we also have, interestingly, Egypt. In Egypt, where we reside, has a very strong chemical industry, agri-processing industry. And more interesting in that variation across the continent, Ethiopia. It would be difficult to think that Ethiopia has actually done very well in that space. Yet it is, especially if you look at the leather industry and so forth, which is one of the main export items that the country has. So to answer your question, it's fair to say that the state of Africa as far as agriculture and agribusiness are concerned, it's not been very encouraging. But one would think that the demographic pressure are such that if we do not move up the value chains by both increasing production and productivity at upstream, but also driving that supply through industrializations, agribusiness and value additions.
Africa has a large infrastructure deficit, especially in the power sector. Power is essential to building sustainable agro-industries. How can companies work around the real power challenges constraints? Or how are you guys doing it at WACOT?
Today in Nigeria, the biggest constraint is infrastructure. Somebody was telling me that, okay, moving a good from Kano to Apapa and moving the good from Apapa to China, you spend more locally than you spend globally. Okay? And how can we be competitive in that case? Okay? Can we start addressing the infrastructure first, then second is the power. What is my cost of production? Today, if I want to process rice in Nigeria, who is my competitor? My competitor is Thailand. My competitor is India. Okay? And you see their cost of transformation and my cost of transformation. My cost of transformation today is closer to $90, and Thailand cost of transformation is $40. I lose straight away $50 in all these associated inefficiencies. Let me put it in that way: associated inefficiencies in Africa. So how can we challenge? How can we address that? One is we are talking about the power sector. Today, whether you like or you don't like, all our industry, if you are getting about, let's say, 1/3 the electricity power from electricity agency, then you should be thanking ourselves. Okay. The second one is gas. What you have said is that Nigeria, can we really migrate to gas? Because Nigeria is having a lot of reserve of gas. Can we slowly change our requirement from diesel to gas? If you see the gas between gas and electricity, I don't see it is more or less on par. Per metric ton consumption, if you try and calculate, it is more or less in par. So for Nigeria, the biggest solution for power, the alternate power one will be gas. The second alternate power, we have plenty of electricity, plenty of sunlight in north. Can we go to solar power in north? But you get only 3 months rainfall, which is basically between June, July, August. After that, you get all the 9 months plenty of sunshine. Can we go migrate into the solar power? That will be another alternative what we need to think of. So what we have done in our WACOT Rise in KB, we realized that very fast that okay, power is going to really bring us down. What we have done is we have put the renewable power. We have made ourselves self-sufficient in power. What we are doing is that whatever we get paddy husk, we try and burn that husk and get the power. Our requirement is almost about 1 megawatt power, and we normally through this process through husk we produce almost about 850 to 900 kilowatt hour every day. So only 10 to 15% you have to depend on the grid, which you get it in Nigeria. It's not so bad, you get up to 30-35%. But that is another source one we have to see that okay, when we are putting up a processing facility, can we go for clean energy, or what we are talking about, can you produce from the byproduct like sugar industry? From bagasse, can we try and produce electricity from bagasse? Correct? So these are all the things, alternative available as far as power sector is concerned.
In what ways are the government and private sector helping to transition from subsistence farming to building an agro-industrial base in their countries? What specific actions need to be taken to make this transition successful?
We all know that government is the biggest funder when it comes to corporate development. But again, how many of those funds actually go into the agri sector? Quite a number of governments in the Niger Delta try to make some efforts in that direction. You know, some of them are beginning to open lands because access to land could be one of the biggest challenges. You know, talking on palm oil, you know, to illustrate this. Both the government and the private sector are doing a lot with regards to that value chain. When you talk about palm oil, it has to do with inputs in terms of the seedling. The biggest challenge with palm oil is that you only get to know if you've planted the wrong tree, you only get to know after 4 years. That's the danger. But then you will have made a lot of investments in inputs, land preparation, labor, and everything. So, and a lot of farmers are actually suffering from this. So they get the wrong seedling, they plant it, only to discover that is the wrong variety with very low yield. This is happening a lot. So we're now trying to work with the private sector, some estates like Okomo and Presco, to see how we can actually get some quality seedlings. I give it to Presco because they responded positively to it last year. So we invested, imported seedlings from abroad, and we're working with 7 dealers, to distribute the seedlings, about 60,000 seedlings. They've all been distributed now.
My question goes to Mr. Usman. You're talking about large-scale production is a challenge. What are you trying to do to correct that challenge? And to Mr. Sarumi, I know you keep saying that your product is not competitive into the world market, and some of your products needs to be repacked and relabeled as a product of EU. Have you tried to comply with international standard of labeling? And to Dr. James, you spoke well about seeds, palm seeds. I understand a little bit about that. An iPhone is not capable of doing anything but 60,000 seedlings of the entire Nigeria. That's a joke. So, what source or what other areas are you investigating to bring in quality seeds for the nation?
In terms of processing, as I alluded to, our biggest challenge is raw material, getting enough raw material. We have many challenges, but in my view, our biggest challenge is getting enough raw material to keep our factories going. The raw material issue is something that has led us directly into our investments in Agro-Allied field. We're investing a lot more time and a lot more effort, particularly in the area of agro-distribution, in outgrower and contract farming arrangements. It's been a very steep learning curve for us because for the last 10 years or so, when we've invested in Agro-Allied, in the example I used in Cassava, we've invested in commercial farming. But we're now realizing that we simply, no matter how large we are, we don't have the patience, we don't have the expertise, even if we're to buy that expertise from abroad, because people's understanding of Nigeria, its climate, its vegetation, the security issues, you cannot even buy the skill sets. So you have to rely on transforming the yield and the productivity of the smallholder farmer and be able to capture that increase in yield and transformation. That's what has led to our investment in areas like seeds, fertilizer, because seeds is 50% of a farmer's yield. The seed is going to be responsible for that. And fertilizer and all that sort of stuff.
I think the issue is not labeling. I think what they are doing is within the law. When you take my product and you remelt it, it's good, right? With products of other origin, it's within the law. But clearly, I'm going to respond to some of the things it's also said to be able to help us in finance and in the agri value chain. As an entrepreneur myself, I think the greatest problem is in agriculture. All of us want to do big projects, winnability is not a problem. You want to set up a rice factory in Kebbi, you can set it up. Profitability is a big problem. And from published results, is this the kind of business I want to be in? Do I want to force a banker to say he should subsidize me? I think we should actually try and build competitiveness by being innovative and creative and not just being large. However, how we are solving the problem of not being competitive is to look at the value chain again and be able to look at innovation. You know, Ujwal said, when you process a commodity, you get a commodity, right? And that's where we are going to the consumer-facing edge, where winnability is difficult, but if we're able to crack that, profitability is small.
I've been trying to respond to your question. I think they've got the right facilities, really. The best facilities in the country when it comes to nursery and raising seeds, oil palm seeds. They are better placed. It is actually their mandate. And to be fair, they're somehow committed to making it work. But unfortunately, there are quite a number of agents out there really parading themselves as NIFRA agents. And so selling the wrong kind of seedlings to unsuspecting farmers who end up losing a lot of money. For us, as Speed Foundation, we're working not just with NIFRA, we're willing to work with all actors in that value chain. My friend Usman here, been speaking to him, and every other person will be willing. I have a budget for this, we're willing to put our money on the table. IGD, anybody in this room will be willing for us to put together a roundtable, not just a roundtable, but to get improved seedlings, well certified, and bring it out there to the market. We've already piloted it. Yeah, with Okomu, just like I said, because when we saw that it wasn't working with NIFRA, we had to bypass NIFRA, and then we worked with a private company, Okomu. We worked with them to import 60,000 seedlings as a pilot. I know compared to Nigeria's demand, that is just a joke, using your own words. But we can only do what we can.
At this conference, talking about the African Common Free Trade Agreement, does that help in terms of policy, the agro-processors in Nigeria? I just wanted to get their view. I think what has been very interesting since the devaluation of the Naira happened, that actually local processing strategies have become much more proactive. And that's why, just in terms of policy, I'm very curious about what their thinking is. And then number two, about the competitiveness of the business model. There's a lot of new technologies out there, agri-tech. Are there any challenges in picking up things like fertigation, like producing, and all these kind of more flow type models to make your business model more competitive?
So today, the way we are stationed here in Nigeria, we can capture something from Central Africa, something from West Africa. This is for us, I think the market and free trade can happen within that. The question what you have asked, is it happening or is it beneficial for the industries, those who are trying to participate in the economic zone? One thing which is happening today, what I have seen is ECOWAS. Under ECOWAS, products are moving either from Nigeria to other countries, neighboring countries, and coming from other neighboring countries to Nigeria. That trade flow is happening, and that is beneficial for the industries of all the countries participating in this particular region. Can we have more of this kind of arrangements? Yes, we can. But till yesterday we are discussing there also, so that that has to have a common mindset and common agreement within the countries. It is happening in a couple of products. It's not happening wholeheartedly for all the products. So that is just to answer your first question. So have we started doing the competitiveness in the value chain? That is the second question you asked, that how competitive are we? Or is there something we can do to make it more competitive? That is what exactly is your second question, what I have understood. If you see means mechanization and implementation of technology in agriculture, a lot of things are happening for the last 3 to 4 years, where people they are not able to afford it, and a lot of companies are coming forward and they're trying and giving that like tractor hiring services. There are companies in Nigeria those are offering tractor hiring services. Okay, even if we do that means for our outdoor farmers, we give them the tractor hiring services. Do we produce quality seed? Yes, we have started doing a lot of research and development right now. Have we achieved the peak there? Obviously not. But is something is happening? Yes, something is happening on the ground. If you ask me, it will take maybe another 3 to 4 years to get the benefit of the quality seed in Nigeria. The awareness has been created, the research are happening on the ground. We have invited a lot of people. Then there was debate concerning about GMO, non-GMO. If government is showing proactiveness to that, I don't want to open that topic. That topic itself in a big topic to be discussed. So those are all the things which are happening now over the different government circles. Do you want to go there or don't we want to go there? At least can we go for improved variety? All those things are happening. And I agree with Sadiq what he was talking about that okay, can we do more of extension education to the farmers? I agree with my friend that's sitting there. There I think we need to go a long way. We are doing more of conferences of lip service, less of field work. I think all of us sitting in this room, if we do our part there, probably educating the farmer, whatever we can we are doing, but everybody does that, then we can see a different productivity and production regime which will help the growing population of Africa and it will make African agriculture more competitive. Thank you.
Forget what's mentioned word competitivity. I mean, this is why IGD keeps saying it's not agriculture, it's agribusiness, it's agro-industry. And it's all about competitivity. And I'm sorry because normally we would have, I don't know where our government folks are, but there is no question that in agro-industry you have to have the aligned interests of the public and private sector coming forward to be able to really move forward. For us, it's a very simple thing. We have a common term we use. We say mind your own, mind the middle. Because you guys are not going to go away when commodity prices change. You don't work it through. FDI can come and can go. So we really, really stress the importance of that ability to make the local producer, local transformer competitive. And then when you hear things like the disco story, man, know something about sugar industry. Every sugar factory is a power station, can produce 15, 20 megs easily over its requirements. So those are the kinds of things, but I'll make sure next time that we have a little more involvement out of government folks here. Later, for sure.